Insomuch as you are here, make the most of your opportunity. By reason of your birth, I don't know, maybe make an effort. Because of your gifts, share them with others. Considering that you have agency, use it to elevate those around you. Hey, since you're likely to affect the people around you, take aim at a loftier ambition than whatever the result of the least amount of effort makes you. Welcome to Here's the Thing, my verbally disseminated production to create self-engendering machines of perpetually effective resolve. I am Scott Schroeder, and this is my show. To the subject at hand. Why bother, right? Why bother? The world is full of pain. Senseless hatred and violence are everywhere. Nothing makes sense. Nothing I do matters in the world. It's pointless. It's meaningless. Life's a bitch and then you die. Or how about this? I am righteous and my beliefs and ideas will change the world. My ideology will end pain and violence and hatred and make sense of the senseless. Live by my rules and all roads will lead to utopia. But you must live my way or not at all. Each of these are poisonous philosophies. Each are cramming all the world into a box of their understanding. Both are incredibly stupid. I've said it over and over in different ways. You can't expect 8 billion people to behave as you wish. You can't expect everyone in your house to behave as you wish. Skipping past your own shortcomings, looking outside your own four walls, ignoring your neighborhood to go out and change the world, it's kindergarten level thought. Set your own self straight before you look outward. And the truth of the matter is that if you live the mission of constructing yourself into a decent human being, you will never look outward because self-improvement is a task without end. To paraphrase the Zen saying, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. In other words, enlightenment doesn't go around bending everything to its will. Enlightenment doesn't need to proclaim itself. Beware of those who profess immanent wisdom. That's one box people choose, and it's dangerous. But the other is just as regrettable. Life isn't pointless. The mere but spectacular fact that we exist at all is foundation enough to prompt the drive to be better than an inert gathering of molecules. Or worse, actively and aggressively behaving as an obstacle to others. Whether you believe it or not, like it or not, want to or not, everything you do or don't do has an effect on the people in your orbit. Why not take that incredibly powerful opportunity to make that influence positive? Live your life, conduct your hours and days within a framework of upward growth. No act or word is insignificant when you realize your physical, intellectual, and spiritual freedom is tied to the responsibility of the way you treat yourself and those around you. I heard the following words recently. They were so powerful and affected me so deeply, I actually wrote them down word for word to share with you. Everyone struggles with the inherent pain of life, but you can defeat the heartache if you find a way to embrace this philosophy. Quote, suffering is real and it's inescapable. So the question is, what do you do about it? Watch your life for a week and pretend you don't know who you are, because you don't know who you are at all. What you understand most about yourself are the arbitrary presuppositions that you use to hem yourself in. And you act as if those presuppositions are true so that the revelation of the full nature of your character won't terrify you. People hide in their own boxes, and it's not surprising. but it's not a good idea because life is too hard to hide in a box. You can't manage it if you do that. If you watch yourself for a week, you'll see certain things. You'll see some of the time that you're resentful and annoying. And those are the times when you're either taking advantage of yourself or you're thinking improperly. Some of the time you'll be bored, in which case you're either undisciplined or you're probably pursuing something you don't want to pursue. And some of the time you'll actually be engaged in life. And the times you're engaged in life, you won't even notice that you're there. The distinction between subject and object disappears when you're engaged in something that you find meaningful. The purpose of life, as far as I can tell, is to find a mode of being that is so meaningful that the fact that life is suffering is no longer relevant. End quote. And those are the words of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson from a lecture from the University of Toronto. Life doesn't have an easy button. You will never live a friction-free existence, but you have to take control of yourself in order to find that mode of being that leads to your freedom from the shackles of pain. Take care of your body, your mind, and your spirit. Read, write, think, connect. Begin there and elevate. I don't know where this society of ours will end up, but the path it's on right now is painfully clear. I will not leap from this insane cliff with the rest of humanity to assuage the pain. All I can do is live in a manner that is meaningful, not numb, not ignorant, not indulgent, not dormant, listless, or passive, but meaningful. And with that, I welcome in my compadre, my associate, Alina Zettel-Moyer. So glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that was quite a mouthful, was it not?
That was quite the intro. Very thought-provoking already.
What I'd like to discuss this concept that wrapped up the quote, which is finding the mode of being that is so meaningful that the fact that life is suffering is no longer relevant. And as it relates to the things that we talk about to our foundation, which is the Semper principle, and how you can break the suffering by just being a better person. I mean, how can you do that, right? How is it going to change the world? Well, it is and it isn't. You can't tether your own well-being to the macro state of the world. You'll never get anywhere with that mindset. And quite frankly, to insult a whole wide swath of people, that's baby boomer fairyland kindergarten philosophy anyway. So what do you think?
Well, you're right. Life is full of suffering, but there's also, it's full of blessings. And around you, they're constant. And in order to get through it, number one, in my opinion, you have to own that suffering. You have to take your part of it, ruminate on it, handle what you can handle, and then learn and realize what you can't control. You just got to work with how it is. So yeah, in my opinion, first own it and then seek those blessings and be grateful. Because if you don't have any joy, you can't get through it. You have to kind of like the yin and yang if you want to be silly about it. But I mean, it's
not silly.
I mean, it's honest though. With pain and suffering, you must also have joy. And you got to find it. You have to seek it, but it is there.
Do you know the meaning of the yin and the yang? Do you know what the symbols represent?
I just always assume darkness and light.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But there's a little bit more to it. And
Educate me.
All of the Buddhists out there, please forgive me as I butcher the symbol of the philosophy here, but basically the two halves of the yin and the yang one represents chaos, and the dot in chaos represents order. In the other one, it's order, and the dot represents chaos. The line that's between them indicates balance, and that you have to keep one foot in chaos and one foot in order to have balance.
Thanks for that definition. That makes a lot more sense.
So it comes down to, if you even want to manage suffering or pain, it is everywhere. As you said, you have to acknowledge that to start with. If you don't acknowledge that, you're going to medicate yourself. And whatever you choose to medicate yourself, whether it's drugs or alcohol or social media or whatever distraction, whatever form of distraction, you're going to put yourself in a box. And when you do that, you're done. Now, you may think you're happy there, or you may think you're content, but you're not doing anything. You're certainly not growing as a human, and you may not want to. And that's where I tend to struggle a lot. And one of the aspects of this, the important part of this, the crux of this, and there's so much more to the quote is something that I pulled from an entire lecture. And I ended it where I ended it. That wasn't the end of the lecture, but that line is so poignant. The purpose of life, as far as I can tell, is to find a mode of being that is so meaningful that the fact that life is suffering is no longer relevant. And if you don't acknowledge that it's there, you're either going to live your life in a box, or you're going to melt into a puddle of despair. And neither one of those do you or anybody any good. And so to find that mode of being that is so meaningful, that the suffering that's already there, there's nothing you can do about it except take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself first, it's like when you get on a plane with a child, what does the flight attendant tell you? To put on your mask first or put on the child's mask first? No, you put on your mask first, because if you pass out, well, you're no good to anybody. So everything starts here, within your own skin, within your own four walls, within your fence. This juvenile need we have to go out and attack the evils of the world is silly beyond belief, because it's not that we can't, we're unwilling to even acknowledge the fact that we have any faults, or that we have suffering, or that we have things that need to be repaired and dealt with. And kind of the nuts and bolts, the foundation of the Semper principle and the effectiveness triangle, as I'm trying these terms out to make them habitual. Keep saying, as Pat Mack would say, make it habitual, rock and roll. But read, write, think, connect, take care of your body, mind, and spirit. If you don't do these things, you can forget it. And that's how that may not be how you or anyone else within the sound of my voice is going to operate to find meaning, and to be able to, because you have to find meaning in order to be able to recognize that there's joy to begin with. Because if you're broken and you're not searching for meaning, or if you think that life is pointless, you're not going to be able to see the joy. Whether it's a cat walking down the street, or whether it's, riding on a Ferris wheel, whatever the heck it is, you're not even going to be able to, you are not even going to be able to recognize that it's there. And that's where it goes back to the medication, the box, putting yourself in a box. So like you said, you have to recognize and accept. And sometimes looking at yourself is horrifying, like it says, because we're all broken. And being putting myself on a track, aiming up to be a self-engendering machine of perpetual effectiveness and resolve. That's my mode of being that helps me make the suffering irrelevant.